project that you're talking about, it's an overburden removal contract. Now, these are the kind of mining contracts that we've already been doing in the past. We already have a significant order book in that. Now, this is a 5-year contract in the state of Odisha. So we'll just be removing the, overburden, and it's at a predetermined price. The margin profile for this would be in a similar range of what we do for our road projects. So we are expecting similar kind of PAT margins at the end of the day. So it should be, it's just when you look at the company PAT margin of about 7-8%, I think it should be in that same range.
Right. Moving from there on with regards to where the MOA has been altered to start purchase and sale of petroleum products, if you could just give us an update on that as to what is the strategy on that front and what's the engagement with IOCL expected to look like?
So I'm very glad that you brought that up. So there is no strategy on that front in the sense that that is not a new business diversification that we're doing. This was just done to accommodate the request of one of our largest suppliers who wanted to partner with us on setting up a Sarai petrol pump in MP. And this is just as a one-off instance. It's not, it's not a business diversification that we're taking, and there is no investment that DBL is making in this sector. So it's IOCL which is making that investment, and I guess as being the largest client in India, they're doing this as one of those, client relationship things.
Right. Rohan, apart from that, with regards to all the HAM projects as well, what's the status with regards to financial closure? Because you have a lot of companies that have achieved financial closure lately. With DILIP BUILCON, where does it stand?
Absolutely. So we have the largest HAM portfolio in the country right now, and I'm very happy to tell you that we are at the final stages of all of our projects. Just the fact because our portfolio is so large, and because the sizes of projects are big compared to a lot of other peer sets. We have consortium-based, financing that's happening in most of our cases, which leads to some delays because all the banks have to finally, the paperwork needs to be completed. So we're waiting that, and very soon, we should be able to, give to the market all the details once it's done.
Right. But Rohan, one question I want to ask over here is that with regards to where funding for HAM projects by banks is concerned, right now the sense that we are picking up that the banks are not very keen on funding HAM projects, and this is mainly because their asset quality is something which is concerning them as well. And that is probably one of the key reasons what's delaying the implementation in terms of the extreme reluctance and the cautiousness that the banks are actually taking into consideration. Is that the sense that even you're picking up on ground?
No, absolutely not. Actually, banks have become very selective in terms of who they want to partner with. Now, companies which have had a track record of doing projects, within time and cost, will not face that kind of challenges. So I think it's more to do with, the names that banks want to go with. They're not very willing to fund players who are just, not in the sector, or who are just doing it as a diversification from their diversifying away from their core competency, or players who have not had a history of delivering these projects. So that's for DILIP BUILCON, given that we have had a very strong track record of completing almost all of our projects before time, doing it within cost, and then showing revenue on it later, in terms of all these projects. Banks are very happy to fund that. And even in terms of the asset quality, these are all AAA assets, because these are annuity assets where the government of India is going to be giving you revenue for the next 15 years. So the only risk that a banker needs to take is construction risk right now. And because it's only construction risk, which is why they're very insistent on the player that they want to partner with, where they want to see a strong EPC lineage. And who else would they think if, when it comes to strong lineage, when it are the other than us? Because, we have had, I'll be very happy and proud to say that we've had the strongest performance in the sector. So, that obviously makes us the natural choice. So we haven't seen anything like that, but obviously the challenges are more to do with banks themselves being in a tight liquidity position. A lot of banks are being under PCA. Typically, it's the PSU banks which have funded the sector, not the private sector banks, which is why there has been a certain, delays in this. But I foresee that to be a short-term issue rather than a long-term issue.
And very lastly, Rohan, overall, with regards to the elections in 3 states that are coming up, what's the kind of impact? Because infra is a sector which actually sees an impact of the same. And with that, do you think there would be some change with regards to the outlook?
I'm very glad that you asked that as well, because we also keep getting asked that question a lot. Now, let me tell you the 3 states which are going, in elections: Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Chhattisgarh. In all 3 states combined, of our total order book of 25,000 crores plus right now, we have less than 5% exposure. So not even, around 1,000 crores or so of orders from these states. So it's a very small exposure. And those orders also have been recently won. Otherwise, earlier we had, from the state governments, we had zero exposure. All our contracts, almost 95% of our contracts are from the national government. So we don't foresee for this to be any problem. We are very well diversified in 17 states across India. And we are confident of achieving our revenue guidance for this year of about 10,000 crores, which will be about a 35% increase from last year's revenue guidance.
Right. All right, Rohan. Pleasure speaking to you, and good luck for the coming months as well. The stock